how do you think the Kyrie Irving return ends? How do you think it ends? I have my 2 cents. I'd like to hear yours.
I think he ends up getting a shot. Now, last night he seemed like he was very used a lot of passive verbs, or he seemed to suggest that I hope it works out, and it almost suggests that he hopes that like the mandate is lifted, or
that's not happening.
Right, you know what I mean? But he seemed to kind of put it off as if it was somebody else's decision as to whether or not he could play, as if he had nothing to do with it, But I think the more the season goes on, it's going to be really, and as the stakes get higher, it's one thing to miss 35 regular season games. As the stakes get higher, I think it's going to be harder for him to be a part-time player. And I think as the playoffs roll around, I think he ends up getting the shot. He's proved his point. He's stood on his principle. The Nets have met him halfway by allowing him to be a part-time player. I don't see him sitting out a home playoff game because he's unvaccinated, especially given how well he was received by the team last night. I think it's actually, relatively speaking, a happy ending in Brooklyn as it relates to Kyrie's vaccination status.
Well, I hope you're right, Michael. I'm taking the other approach, and his comments about, as you pointed out, him thinking it's really someone else's decision points to that he won't do it, and he will do what we saw last night. He's so good, man. He's so good.
You think him being allowed back makes him more emboldened to not get the shot?
Yes, I do. Mm-hmm. I think so, because the Nets said a few weeks and months ago, this is not workable. Now it's suddenly workable. Mm-hmm. And not only workable, it worked last night. All you had to do was poor Lance Stevenson, right? I mean, what a big game he had last night, 20 in the first, 30 overall.
Incredible.
I know. And it's kind of like, too bad Kyrie came back too. And that's the difference, right? Because Kyrie came back. If Kyrie wasn't there, I think we'd be talking about Lance Stevenson today, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. That was, fun to watch, fun to see.
Born ready, stay ready, so you ain't got to get ready.
So, but last night, Kyrie showed you what this team could be and look like. And I already saw on Twitter that people are in line with what I think his plan is. Ball out and then say the mandate's unfair. And it's not, the reason why that he's not playing is not the choice, his choice. It's the choice of New York City and their draconian public health measures. Like, that's the way it's going to go. That's the way it's absolutely going to go.
But it's just like I was saying about Antonio Brown. Same way people looked at it before. The talking points haven't changed as far as I can tell. I just feel like the reason I'm optimistic, and I'm optimistic to a fault oftentimes, is that this is easy to talk about when the stakes ain't that high. It's the regular season. We're just into 2022. There's going to be more pressure on Kyrie Irving internally, both in terms of his teammates, who he purports to love and care about, and who care about him and who have supported him, the organization that he's a part of, as well as, I'd like to think, the competitor that Kyrie Irving is. And look, man, Kyrie Irving is the last of the Mohicans here. He's the last one standing. He wasn't the only one in the preseason that didn't want to get vaccinated. Andrew Wiggins ended up getting vaccinated.
He did.
We'll see what Novak Djokovic ends up doing. I don't know. Who knows? But I think when it comes time to pursue a championship, I think it's going to be harder for Kyrie to continue to stand on this principle, whatever principle that is.
Yeah, I understand that, and the difficulty will be him saying, he doesn't stand for anti-vax, and he doesn't stand for but what he stands for is his freedom to choose, and New York City is the problem, not his choice.
But he's already got his out, though. He's already got his out. See, he's always said, I am not, he said, I am not anti-vax. I am not a COVID conspiracy theorist. That's what he has said.
Well, he's going to earn it. Because it's honestly, this is the way it's going to go, man. We already saw it again, as you pointed out just yesterday. with the Australian Open. It just so happened that the Prime Minister of Australia sided on the side of their mandates and their
we're not making an exception.
Their approach, correct?
Right.
And the people who have been living under that approach were like, why are we making an exception for him?
Right.
I'm just wondering how the folks in New York City will react if the Nets need the extra help at home. Because we looked at it. I mean, there's going to be the last 4 games he can't play. One of them's at the Knicks. The other 3 are at home. The last 4 games of the season he can't play. There's certain stretches we're not going to see him for another 5 days now. Yeah. And if they struggle at home and we come like this is going to just build steam. And I honestly hope I am wrong. And I'd love to just talk about the X's and O's of it. I'd love to see Kyrie Irving play the entire time. But, for those who live in a city where the mode of transportation of getting around is in a tube or in a bus mostly, and where most housing is where people live literally on top of each other, this is the way that they need to have an approach towards battling COVID. And he won't take the shot. And I'm saying that it will wind up being the conversation. You already see the media even describe, there was a tweet yesterday in the Daily Beast, Djokovic won't take the shot. Australia tells him to take the shot. We don't know how this can be fixed. Well, yeah, one guy could take the shot.
Well, no, it's simple, and that's what I'm saying. The pressure is going to build on him. He's not going to win. He's not going to win in a battle against a state and local government mandate. What I'm saying is he has already given himself an out because he said from the beginning, this is an ongoing process. I don't know what other facts he needs. I don't know what other so-called research he needs to do. But Kyrie Irving is in position to be able to, for whatever it's worth to him, save face. Kyrie Irving can get the shot and simply say, I needed time. And it doesn't make him a sellout. It doesn't mean that he caved in and gave in to the man. It doesn't mean, that he lacks conviction or whatever. He can, because he never said I'm anti-vax, even though his behavior suggested that he's anti-vax. He seemed to be anti-vaccine mandate. At the end of this, Rich, I hear everything you're saying. I believe he's going to come around, and his explanation is going to be, I had to go through my process, and I arrived at a place where I was comfortable taking the shot, even though there is very little, if any, further information about the safety and efficacy of the vaccines than there were before.
Well, I hope you're right, Michael, because I would like to have in this pandemic, that sports bubble. That's what I try to create here every day. Unfortunately, it gets pierced by the vaccine conversations and COVID, diagnoses and things like that. I'd rather just have a conversation and watch the big 3 play with each other and ball
him since
out,
last year before last night. Wasn't that a treat?
It was. I love. He's so good.
He's gifted, man.
And he's exactly what they need. He's exactly the guy. Yeah. It's amazing how it works sometimes that Durant is the best player in the world. I think we can say that right now. And Harden has, for somebody so good, his flaws that Kyrie fills in when the two of them don't click. It's really fun to watch, man. It really is.
Well, and what's also cool, and that's the approach. It's funny we took yesterday. Is that yesterday was just good for fans of basketball and fans of talent, and I thought it's my man Jeffrey Osborne, LTD, concentrate on you. Famously saying it takes separation to bring appreciation, and I missed Kyrie. I missed watching him do his thing. I mean, look, man, there are better scorers in NBA history. There are better point guards in NBA history. There are better players in NBA history. But I'll be damned if there's anybody who is more gifted at putting the ball in the basket, more creative at putting the ball in the basket than Kyrie Irving.
He's so good.
He is so good. And that's the thing that we saw last night. And I think for the most part, we'll see. And this will come to a head. And I just can't imagine him sitting on the bench watching his teammates compete for a championship, knowing what a difference he can make.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.